Hello and welcome to the Michael Mamas Show. I am your host, Michael Mamas, and we're coming to you from Mount Soma, home of the Sri Someshwar Temple in the mountains of western North Carolina. There's a lot going on in the world today. Trump did some amazing things in China and Japan and Indonesia.
You'd never know it.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's down on him. I mean, all the liberals, I guess. But he made that deal for the rare earths out of China. China has really, and when you look at China's behavior, I think now they're at the point where they're realizing they're not going to mess with Trump, and I think they're just I really do think they're just trying to work with him to create a symbiotic relationship. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because one of our partners in the construction business, he was the dean of architecture for USC. He's from China, and he was just telling us that they had replaced a bunch of the generals in China because they all wanted to kind of go to war, and Ping didn't want to, which is weird because I'd never heard that, thought that before.
Well, I think that's very interesting. I didn't know that, but about, the generals and getting rid of those generals. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I think he just sees the writing on the wall. He's no fool,
Yeah. It's like, let's play together.
Yeah.
You're big, I'm big. It'll be a lot better if we work together. Yeah.
That's right. The whole world would prosper if people could just get along. God, you think they'd figure that out by now? And
No.
Yeah.
Must suffer.
And they talk about the UFOs and why aren't they making themselves known? My God,
It's embarrassing.
Look at our history. They're not stupid. Anyway. So it's talking about, well, I was going to say about stupid. It's incredible that there can be, the knowledge is just right there, the foundational knowledge. And it's all right there. It's in the Vedic literature. The understanding of what Sanskrit is, it's the sounds of creation. It's the sounds of existence. It's a self-interacting dynamic of the unified field. And the thing is, the modern physicists were onto it. I mean, Einstein learned Sanskrit. All those guys, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, all of them, they got that. But see, the thing is, the money rules the world, and there's no funding for them to research that and implement that. It won't get funded. And so the world just remains oblivious. I can't believe it. I mean, you get into this Vedic knowledge and everything, and it's so right there. Everything's in plain view, and the evidence is there. They've known for thousands of years how far the sun is away, and the circumference of the earth, and, well, for God's sake, how to build UFOs and all that stuff. And it's right in the Vedic literature. And it says in the explanation, if you read that explanation of how to build a UFO, it's right there. And the thing is, until recently, there was one element, we didn't know what it was. And it turns out that I forget what it's called, but it's that thing that now what's that guy's name, Scotty? In Vegas, in Area 51.
Yeah. He was working, it's element 115.
Yeah, that's it. And now they've got it. Now they found it. But it's going to take a lot of funding and everything to get that done. What's the guy's name, Scott, who was, I think he was second head of Skunk Works, but he gave a talk at UCLA engineering department. And he said, at the end of his talk, we have the technology to bring ET home.
Yeah.
And, it's the intensity of the identity with the blinders, and just a commitment of functioning, but see a certain way. But it's all physiological. It's not just oh yeah, I get it. I mean, I tried that. I lectured till I was blue in the face. Oh yeah, great lecturer. Been looking for this my whole life. I get it. And then they just go about doing what they do. So it's physiological. It's not that they're bad by any means. It's they just can't help it. It's a state of physiology of the awareness. When I talk about physiology, I'm talking psychophysiology, the psychology of the physiology of consciousness itself, human awareness. But this is actually kind of interesting, the angle I got into it from. It was just last night, really. I've been into fitness and stuff, and I've been researching all that. And there's this one particular exercise called Sumo Deadlifts. Basically, it's just how to pick up a heavy object off the floor. And but it's a very skill-oriented technique. I mean, there's a lot to how to go about it, because the mechanics of the knees, the back, the hips, the whole thing, the whole posterior chain, and how it relates to the rest of the body. So much is involved in it. And so it's almost more of a skill than a strength. I mean, it's both. But they have on YouTube, you'll see these really young girls, women. I mean, what are they, 115 pounds or something? And they're deadlifting ungodly amounts of weight. And it's because they learn the style, the technique. Now, what is that in Vedic? Well, you can look at it from see, that's the thing about Veda. Everything is interconnected. So you can look at it from any aspect of Veda, and it will seamlessly integrate with the rest. But I was looking at it from the perspective of Dhanurveda. Dhanurveda is sort of like engineering, you could say. It's sort of like cosmic engineering. Classically, the way it's translated, and that's an important point, because you see the Sanskrit language itself is so expansive and all-encompassing, and that the meaning of every single word reaches all the way out into infinity, so you can pick it up on whatever level. But typically it's translated as just study of archery, how to fire an arrow, and so the principles in there, and just the idea of the bow and arrow, and just the mechanics of the bow and arrow, and how that maps and seamlessly integrates on all the different levels of engineering and existence. It's all right there. So I was on YouTube, and I was looking at how to do the sumo deadlift, because there's so much in it, and there's so much analysis of it. And there's this one woman, what's her name? Natasha Aughey, Aughey, I think it is. And she's, I mean, hugely muscular, and but I watch her do the sumo deadlift, even in slow motion, and that, because her technique is really awesome. And even at her level, and I mean, she can deadlift 500 pounds, multiple reps, I think. Incredible. But even she'll, they have the videos of her, and she's doing the deadlift, the sumo deadlift, and then there'll be one that's just a little off. And she'll even say, "Oh, that was really bad," and it's really interesting. I mean, I learned so much just watching her do the exercises, and that is all Dhanurveda. It's all about the study of engineering, of mechanics, and it applies to anything. It applies to archery. It applies to sumo deadlifts. It applies to everything. And the idea is that, you see, and that's where we can get confused too when we study Vedic literature, for example, is we memorize, okay, here's the technique, do this, do that, do this, do that. I remember I was talking to somebody recently, and they were talking about Soham, that meditation breathing thing. And unfortunately, I didn't get to complete the conversation, but I said, nah, that's just ridiculous, And so I think she probably thinks that I'm thinking the whole Soham thing is ridiculous. But my point was that if you just get stuck on a superficial level with it, it's meaningless. It's just a distraction. And there are people that spend their lives trying to memorize this aspect of Veda or this level of understanding of Veda and think that once they get that all memorized, that they have truth. But you see that the trick is it's you learn the techniques and then you refine your understanding of them. And it gets to a point, and they even say this in archery, they say it in sumo deadlifting, in anything. It gets to the point where you transcend the technique. It's not that you don't do it, but the physiology takes it on a transcendental level. So it's just spontaneous. And that's real Dhanurveda, and that's where Dhanurveda leads. It starts with intellectual understanding, but if you just get stuck on that level without transcending it, it gets you nowhere. So you can see why, even though all this knowledge is hidden in plain view, it's right there. It's in the Sanskrit literature. It's in the Veda. But even when the English went, and colonized India, very few of them, they didn't think that much of it. And interestingly enough, they went back to England and came up with their different theories of the circumference of the earth and stuff, or whatever it all was. They went back to India and told it to the people in India as if they were giving them new knowledge. They kind of claimed it for themselves. The whole thing is just ridiculous, But it just speaks to. Are you there, Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because your image is fluttering in and out. It just speaks to the power of the identity with just such a limited perspective and indoctrination. And well, like we were saying, Scotty, not long ago, people wonder why, if there are UFOs, why aren't they making themselves known? I mean, take a look at how we behave.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Just stay away. It's a little bit like, well, we don't really like going into rattlesnake dens either, do we? Same kind of thing. Yeah. And of course, the rattlesnakes say, "Oh no, we all get along fine. Everything's beautiful. We're all just so harmonious, and we love our little rattlesnake babies and everything."
Right.
Yeah. We do the same thing. So now, see, the other aspect of Dhanurveda is called Upaveda. It's like lesser Veda. It's Veda, but it's not the Mahaveda. It's kind of like, well, with gemstones, you have emeralds, green emerald, and that's called a gemstone. And gemstones are very interesting because, like, what is it? The ninth word of Veda, Agni Malay Protam, is the Ratna. It's gemstone. So, and in one sense, you could say, oh, okay, they're talking about gemstones, but in another sense, they're talking about the crystalline structure, the geometric structure of the underlying basis of all existence. It sequentially unfolds right from oneness to consciousness. Consciousness becomes aware of itself. Two things are born, then it cascades out. And very early on in that process, you've got crystalline structure. That's the whole structure of the Veda. Yantras, geometric representations of that structure. It's called a machine. That's a translation. It's a machine. It's a mechanic. You see. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So you have the Uparatna, which is like the peridot, the green stone, maybe green tourmaline is another example. It's not really the real highest level, you could say, the deepest structure of that color, you could say, or that crystalline structure, you could say, but it relates. It's upa, lesser. And so Dhanurveda is the Upaveda aspect of the foundational structure of existence, which relates to Yajurveda. Yajurveda is like, that's the stuff that, like when pundits do chants in the temple and that, it's Yajurveda. What is that? It's engineering. It's cosmic engineering. It's all related to that subtle structure. It's all a function of that subtle structure of the mechanic of creation. And what's the language of that? It's Sanskrit. It just unfolds right out of the very structure, those sounds, those vibrations. It's highly sophisticated. It's a science, you see. And so I remember I was telling Pandit in the temple once that, you know, Vedic pundits, they're mechanics, you know, cosmic mechanics. He thought that was great. He laughed. Because like with engineering, it's all based on fundamental structure of our understanding of physics. But nevertheless, you can engineer things in different ways. You can build a light bulb, or you can build a television, or you can build a road, civil engineering, and all sorts of different things. And like that, the Vedic pundits are people that, this is also important, that they know these different technologies. So they can look at how one thing they can do, they can look at how your individual physiology and psychology interfaces with that structure, see if there's any problems, anything stuck, and then they can engineer a technology that brings all that back into balance. And so like that with Dhanurveda, you could say, what is that? It's purification, right? It's normalization. It's integration back into the harmony of the fundamental structure of existence. And Dhanurveda is the same kind of thing, but uparatna. So it kind of like takes, and I'll just use the example of Sumo deadlifting. You could do anything, underwater basket weaving, anything. It's all Dhanurveda. But you look at it, and there's, you know, here's how you place your feet, flat spine, solid grip, you know, and it goes through the technique. And as you get better and better at it, just like with cosmic engineering, as you refine and become more skilled and become a fully qualified Vedic pundit, you know, your technique refines. And where does it ultimately lead is a really interesting thing. Is it ultimately leads, and they even say this in the little I know and very little about archery, but also in Sumo deadlifting and anything, it gets to a point where you don't even have to think. It's just seamless. And where does it lead to? Transcending. It leads to the point where you're doing nothing. They'll even say that they'll say things like, for these really advanced deadlifters, the bar lifts itself. You know, it just goes. And that's how these little women do this unbelievable amount of weight, because they just have integrated it in their physiology where they don't have to think. They just do. It's become a part of their physiology and spontaneous and just in harmony with the foundation of their being, you know. But now to really get that down, as the Vedic pundits, it's because now that we're not dealing with uparatna, you know, we're dealing with or upaveda, we're dealing with the Veda, the greater Veda, not the lesser Veda. And that's what the Vedic pundits are doing. And so the system becomes far more sophisticated and far more refined, to the point where it goes all the way to the DNA. See, the DNA is the fundamental, think about it. The DNA is the fundamental structure of the human physiology. And of course, it can get modulated, and so that's another subject. But it's the fundamental structure, not unlike the Veda. The structure of the Veda is the fundamental structure of existence. And so if you're going to have a Vedic pundit functioning on the finest levels of existence, it has to go all the way down to their DNA. That's why you can't just say, oh, I want to be a pundit and become a Vedic pundit. It doesn't work like that. People do it, they try to do it, but so much is lost. because the DNA is something that gets cultured through generations, and I'm talking thousands of years. These are the lineages that go on. These pundits, they're as far back as you can go. It's been the family tradition, so their physiology has been cultivated and refined to that level, so that they can perform these pujas, these havans, these technologies of the Veda, to the point where the whole ceremony, if you will, transcends, taps right into the absolute and gains that infinite organizing power in the foundational structure of existence itself, that all comes out of one thing, oneness, pure isness. Incredible. Consciousness equals isness, as I've said before. It's just so beautiful, you know. And we just don't pay any attention to it. You know, really, society. Sometimes I went into the bank the other day because we were closing one account because they closed their local office, and so we had to transfer the assets to a bank that was nearby. And we've been banking with them for years, and so the tellers, I guess, knew me. I don't know, because I never go in there, but it's all online, you know. But they were curious. They said, "Well, you know, who are you? You know, what do you do?" And I tried to explain it, and I talked about this just a little bit in Sanskrit, blah, blah. And it just, oh, okay. And they had no idea what I was talking about, but that was good enough for them, you know? And the world is like that. It's so representative of just the world's relationship with this profound knowledge, you know? But it takes a tremendous amount of research. You know, oh boy, this kind of relates. Maybe it's not a great example, but even World War II and the atomic bomb, the Japanese were working on it. The Germans were working on it, and the Germans had better scientists than we did, with respect to that. But the thing they didn't have, the Japanese or the Germans, was proper funding. They weren't funded to do, I mean, we had thousands and thousands of people and working on the project just to make the heavy waters and all that stuff, but they didn't. And so it's the same kind of thing. We have a handful of people in the world that they're onto it. They get Vedic knowledge. Even the physicists themselves, Einstein and all of them, were like, oh yeah, this is it. Didn't have the funding to pursue it. It's all hidden in plain view. It's right there, you know. But then you pick up say a book with Vedic literature, you read it, and so this guy did this and that, and okay, I get it. That's not getting it. I call that the I get it syndrome. You read its little stories or whatever, and you just discard it, really, you know. Or pick it up on whatever level you do. That's the whole purpose of Mount Soma. That's what we're doing. We are creating a place that enlivens that knowledge and actually implements that knowledge on the most fundamental level with complete dedication, no compromise, no undermining. And it comes right down to another Upaveda, Sthapatya, architecture. Now, architecture, again, has meanings on different levels, but it has to do with structure. And so how do you even build a Vedic temple properly? How do you even have a area that's sufficiently large and sufficiently orchestrated, if you will, architecturally speaking, so that you can build a unified field generator. You can create something that, in fact, takes that transcendental value and wells it up through all levels of existence and radiates it out into the environment in a manner that what? Harmonizes life with nature. You see, living in harmony with nature is not about, building a log cabin and going barefoot in the woods. So let's do it. It's there. It's hidden in plain view. Let's just make it happen. That's what Mount Soma is about. I heard about that. It was in 1981 when I first heard that there was the plans for an enlightened city, how to build that structure. Right then, I heard it and I said, "That's it. Let's do it." It's turned out to be my life. Took me 20 years to even find the plans. There's an architect and Vedic architect, Sapatya Veda expert in South India that has those cognitions from a Muni Mayan, Vishwakarma is his name, And it's taken me another 20 years to get to this point where we've started the structure. We have a Vedic temple, we have the land, it's all, the plans are there in detail to the 16th of an inch, and it's going to be another 20 years, I think, to build it. Not only because the funding, and I think we'll get the funding in place, but also it's a huge project, Dhanurveda, Yajurveda, transformation. All right, Scotty, anything else?
No, I think you got it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. And we'll talk with you again next week.